Hi guys, it's Tammy. So if the last video was Knitting for Beginners 101, this will be Knitting for Beginners 201. And this is yarn. And there are tons and tons of different kinds, textures, all of that of yarn. And I didn't have any clue what I was doing when I first started. And I still have just a little bit more of a clue, but I love yarn. There is so many different kinds, so many different great things that you can do with it. It's just fabulous. So I would challenge you, if you are serious about knitting, to go to your local Michael's or craft store or whatever, wherever you're going to get your looms, if that's the way you choose to do it, or your knitting needles, if that's the way you choose to do it, and just look at the yarn and don't buy the most expensive yarn. But if you can, don't buy the least expensive yarn. Instead, look at the yarn and see what you like about it. And let me tell you a little bit of the things that you might want to look for. When you're looking at yarn, when you're about to purchase it, these wrappers tell you everything you need to know about them. And for example, most of them have something on the front, like some sort of pattern. And I don't know if that's true for most of them or not. A lot of them, let's just say that, have a pattern on it. And that pattern is usually, see look, free pattern on the inside. So that pattern is what is on the inside of this. If you look at it, you can see that pattern. And this will tell you what you need to make that. And this says that you need, if you're making this extra small, small, medium, or large, you're going to need 4 balls of yarn. And this is a ball. It's also called a skein. And my friend Twyla told me the way to remember that is S and then cane. So it's easy to remember, at least easier for me to remember now that she told me that. I don't know why, but I could never remember how to say it. Skein, scone, I don't know. It was crazy. But skein is the way that we say it. And this also tells you, so this says that this is, I don't know what that means, capulette. I guess that's the type of yarn that it is. I'm really not sure what that means. This is 5 ounces of yarn. And to make this in these sizes, you need 4 balls. To make this in an extra large to a 5XL, you would need 6 balls. And then it also tells you that your needles, you either need 9mm needles. And this is a US size 13. So the way to tell that on your needle is, it will tell you on here, this is a US size 10, or then it has the metric on the back. So it's a 6mm or a US size 10. So obviously this is not the one I would want to use with that, but this is an example. And you can also get them in different lengths. So you need to kind of pay attention to that as well. This is a 14-inch. The longer it is how many stitches it will hold. So if you're doing a scarf, this is plenty big. If I'm doing a blanket, this would never work. So there's that. And then it also says that you could use the, I don't know what they're called. Let me see if it tells me. Circular knitting needles. So this is an example of a circular knitting needle. And this actually is a size 9 no, it's not. Sorry, I'm lying. This is a 5.5mm. This is a number 9. This is a number 13 that it recommends that you use. But this is a circular needle where it has a little ring that goes from one needle to the other, so it's all connected. And this is great for larger things that need to have a lot of room. So I haven't used this yet, so I don't even want to talk about this yet, but this is a bamboo needle. These are plastic needles, and then I have showed you some metal needles. And I think, from what I know, these are the 3 most popular types of needles: plastic, bamboo, or metal. And I also have heard, and I don't know this to be true yet, because like I said, these are the only ones that I've used so far. I think the metal ones are maybe the hardest ones to use. So that might be something to think about when you're just starting out. You may want to get the bamboo, because I hear that those don't stick, or those kind of give you a little stick, whereas these metal ones just let you slide things off, and sometimes it's easy to get a little crazy with them. So I've heard that the bamboo is the easiest, followed by the plastic, followed by the metal. I happened to pick these up before I knew that, so that's why I have the metal. So there's that. And these come in different sizes too. I actually have 2 sizes, and these are smaller See how these are a number 5 and these are a number 9, and these are 3.75 millimeters where these are 5.5. But if you notice, this is 74 centimeters or 29 inches, and this is only 24 inches. So there's more on this one than there is on this one. See how it loops once, this one loops twice. So this can hold a bigger project than this one, even though this is a bigger sized needle. So that part doesn't matter. What matters is how big it is so that you can hold however many stitches you need. So there's that. And it also tells you the color. This is a warm cream, and it tells you the lot number. And that is important if you need to buy if you need to buy several skeins of yarn for whatever project. Like for example, if I wanted to make this one and I needed 4 balls of this, I would want to try to get them all from the same lot. And that, they say, is important because then you know that they were dyed the same and they were all treated the same, so they should all act the same and be the same for you when you're using it. Now, does that mean that other lots aren't going to match perfectly? No, it doesn't, but it just means that a professional knitter would pay attention to that. And I have yarn in my mouth, so sorry. So that's one particular kind of yarn, and you can see how it's not straight. It's kind of chunky. I like this kind of yarn for my loom. I think this is great for a loom. I have not tried it with my knitting needles, and it probably will be a little while before I do, but I love it for the loom. I'm just not sure about it with the needles. The needles aren't my go-to. The loom is my go-to at this moment in my life. So again, I am a very big beginner. There's also this wonderful yarn. I don't even know what this is called, and I don't have the packaging on it anymore, but it is like super soft. It's not even really yarn. Well, it is, but like these come off. I don't know. See how that, like the little fibers you can kind of pull off. I don't know. It's like Chanel or something. I might not be saying that right, but it's really cool, and this works great on the loom. Fabulous on the loom, and it gives you a beautiful scarf or project. This is one made with that, and I just love it. I think it's just beautiful, and it feels so soft and nice. This would be a great baby blanket in my opinion. So there's that, and this is what was left of a really big skein that I had. So you know, the size of the skein is obviously going to matter too as to how much you might have left over and what project you're doing and all of that. So here's another one. I of course haven't used that, but let's see. It will tell you how many yards there are, and I don't think I showed you on this one. 104 yards on this one. And it also tells you that this is 100% acrylic. I didn't mention that either. So it tells you how big it is, 55 yards. So this one is only 55 yards. This one is 104 yards. So you can see if I were to make this project, instead of needing 4 balls, I would need almost 8 balls because I'd want to make the same project. So you have to be careful of that. This is 59% acrylic, 23% wool, and 18% polyamide, whatever that is. This tells you the size. It's a super bulky 6. And this also tells you, and I don't think I got into here. So this is also a super bulky 6. And I don't think I got into this, but this little square is supposed to be very useful, and honestly I haven't gotten into that so much, but when you are using your knit stitch, and there's a little crochet hook in that one, so that one's for crocheting, this one is for knitting. Here, I'll show you again. This one is for knitting, this one is for crocheting. The knitting is the 2 sticks. So when you're looking at that, that means that for a 4x4 square, which is how they seem to do it universally, or 10 by 10 centimeters, so 4x4 square for us, it would give you 8 stitches, I think is what that means, 8S. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but what that's trying to tell you is that this is pretty bulky, and for a 10 by 10 square, you're not going to get a ton of stitches. Whereas something like this, for a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter square, you're going to get 18 stitches. So that's what that is. Okay, so that's 18 stitches, where this one is only 8. So you can see how that's a big difference. That means that this yarn is a lot thinner than this yarn, and you can see how thick this is and how crazy and fun it is. So that's what kind of drew me to this, and I haven't done anything with it, and I only bought 1 skein. That's something else. I would probably recommend buying 2 skeins at a time of stuff when you're buying something, just because you never know if one is going to be enough. So I've learned that, and I'm trying to do that now. It's kind of nice if you buy from Michael's online, at least Michael's. I don't know if it's probably the same for other craft stores. When you buy from them online, they make you get a certain number. So like, I don't know, sometimes you have to get like 3 or whatever. Sometimes you can just get 1, but lots of times they make you get more than 1. So this one also tells you the lot, which is right there. This is Isaac Mizrahi craft yarn. Let's see, where else does it tell you anything else about it? This tells you that you need to hand wash it and lay flat to dry. So that would be something that you'd need to keep in mind. And here's the color. It's Strawberry Fields. And yeah, so this also tells you that you would need a US 17 knitting needle. And yeah, that is a 12.75 millimeter. So that's kind of what each yarn will tell you. And each one is going to be different because it's going to match whatever the yarn is. This one, like I said, is going to be you're going to get a lot more stitches. But look how different this yarn looks than this. Works the same way. This is called this one says sugar wheel, and maybe that's what they call them. I've also heard them called cakes. And these are kind of nice to use because, first of all, this correlates to about 2 skeins of yarn from a regular one. At least that's what I learned from somewhere else, and this one doesn't really tell me. And this is Yarndy. This is a Hobby Lobby brand. But anyway, they come like this. They also have some cake ones. I have some of those too. But you can easily put them down like this, and then you can see how the yarn pulls out from the top. And you just use that, and it pulls out really nicely, and it's great. And it sits like this, and it works fine. Now on these, you still want to pull out from the middle and not from the end. And the reason you want to do that is because if you pulled out from the end, it makes or if you pull out from the side, let me just do one. I'll just do this one. So like if I were going to start using this one, I would actually leave this on because I don't need this, but this is where a lot of people want to start. And you just want to start with this. If I pulled this, you can see how this thing's going to go all wicky-wacky and fly everywhere, and it's going to go crazy because this is just wrapped around however it can be wrapped around. There's no rhyme or reason. Now, what you can do, and I didn't look to see what end I pulled that out from. Oh, no. Okay, well, there is a second end, and it is tucked inside, and sometimes you have to pull out more than you think that you might have to pull out to find it. Usually it's not this difficult. It could be in the other end. I don't know. Sometimes it's crazy, and I'm pulling out like all of it. Here we go. So here's this end. So I'm going to just stick this stuff back inside here, and then I'm going to wrap this around here, and then I'm going to try to put this back in here if I can. And the reason I do that is because when I'm using the yarn, I like to keep the band just in case I need more or whatever. I can easily find what I need, so at least I'm keeping it until I use it. But okay, so now when you find the end, and usually it's the opposite end of where the other one started, which is, I'm totally confusing you because I'm confusing myself. But let's see if I can try this again. So if I were to find where the outside one should come from the opposite end than the inside one. Okay, this is the outside one. So did you see how they tucked this inside here? That means that if I know that this outside one is tucked into this end, then I need to look in this end to find the middle start. And you want the middle start, like I was trying to say, because now I can pull freely from the middle, and this thing doesn't move, and the yarn just comes out, and it works out fabulously. And I'm not going to pull a ton out, but or a ton more out. I've already pulled a ton out, but you can see how smoothly and nicely it just comes straight out of the middle. And it will do that for almost the whole skein. When it gets really low, you'll notice, and sometimes you might want to roll it into a ball before you get to the end, but it's great. It works out fabulously. So pull your yarn from the middle. Once you've kind of gotten kind of crazy with it, or once you've used it for a little bit, you probably will want to roll it into a ball, and then that's going to make it, and this was actually a hank, and I'll show you that in a second. And so I needed to roll this into a ball to start with, to use it at all. But rolling it into a ball is not hard. You just literally start on the end. And they have tools that you can purchase to do this too. But I just start wrapping it like this. And once I get several wraps, I take it off my fingers and then I scrunch it. And then I start going the other way. And then you can see how it's starting to form something. And then now just keep on wrapping until you've gotten the whole thing into a little ball. And it's super nice and easy to use. And I can tuck that in there and just hopefully remember that that was my ball to start. So yeah, it's, you know what, if I'm going to tuck this in this end, so hopefully I'll know that that's not the start when I get to use that thread. So anyway, this is called a hank, and I remember that because it's like a hunk of yarn and it needs a name, so the hunk is named Hank. And I have a weird way of remembering things sometimes, but that's what I do. And this is from Cloudborn Fibers. This is in the color Stormy Skies. I think the type of yarn is a Highland Sport. I don't really know what that means, but here are the same information. So this tells you that it's 100% fine Highland wool, that it's 200 yards, it's a number 2, so that means it's not chunky at all. Its weight is 1.8 ounces, hand wash normal, do not wring, dry flat, do not iron. And then it tells you that you would need a size 5 knitting needle, and you get 6 to 6.5 stitches per inch. And that's the crochet side. This is the color, and this is the lot. Now this came offline. I got this from a place called Craftsy, and what you need to do for these, and I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to show you. What you're going to need to do for these is you undo the hank, and it just unrolls like this, and then you can kind of see where it has a natural middle, and you want to open this up so it's totally open, and you're going to notice that it has some weird things holding it, and usually there's 2 or 3 of those, at least that I've noticed. So there's one here, there's the tag here, and then there's one here, and there's one here. So what you'll do for this is you would either have somebody hold it like this, and I think you might have seen people from old movies doing this, and this is what they're doing. So you either, and the reason, just so you know why it comes like this, because I was like, why the heck do they even bother? The reason it comes like this is because these are dyed, usually like hand dyed or dyed, maybe not by hand, machine dyed, whatever. And this is how they dye them, and then they hang them to dry. And then to protect the fibers, they just roll it up into a hank. And I'm going to try to roll this one back up into a hank after we're done to show you how to do it in case you need to do it. And I've not done that. I've only done it once, so you'll have to bear with me, but it'll be fine for what I'm doing for. But anyway, you're going to, this is the same as one skein or one ball of yarn, only it's just different. It's just in a different way. And you do need to roll this, like I said, into a ball. This used to be one of these. So if you don't have somebody to hold it for you, what they have recommended is that you take a chair or 2 chairs and put them back to back and put this over the chair nicely and kind of tight so that this is, you know, like stretched out, not stretched, but nice and tight like this, because what you don't want to do is when you're undoing it, you don't want any of these, even just one, to go over here, because it will be a hot mess. And trust me, I know, I've only done this once and it was a hot mess. So listen to me when I tell you, you're going to want to make sure that you keep this so that it's in a round or oval or some shape so that you can roll with this and get it all rolled up into a ball. You're not going to want to just lay it on your lap and try to do it, which is what I tried to do. Do not do that. So once you've gotten it like this, then you would snip these yarns off. And usually, from what I've learned, these should be a different color. And you can see how that, well, I don't know if you can see, but this is a little different blue than that color. So I would snip this off, and then it would allow the yarn to to run free. So I'd snip that and just pull that off. I'd take the tag off and I'd snip that one and pull that off. And then I would find the start and I would just literally do this as I'm rolling into a ball. They have winders. They have things that you can use to do that if you're so interested, but I don't need that, at least not yet. So then to put it back into a hank, you just roll it or spin it until it kind of starts to form a loop onto itself, and then you take one side and pull it into the other side, and then it creates a little hank, and that is your hank. And they say if you're going to use a hank, then use it, but if you're not going to use it, don't roll it into a ball yet. Leave it like this, because this will stretch out the fibers or do something to the fibers. At least that's what I learned on one of my knitting places that I've been watching. So leave it in the hank until you're going to use it, and then roll it into your ball and use it to your heart's desire. So that is about everything I know about yarn. You can see there's just different brands, different kinds, some with glitter, some with sequins. There's just all different kinds of yarn. Some that's sparkly shiny, some that's, I mean, it's just beautiful. There's, oh, this one's the sparkly shiny kind too. This is the same thing. Soft Secret. I just love it. So, yeah, you know, look for yarn and do your best to pick something that you think you love and that, you know, would make something beautiful. Now, again, if I'm loom knitting, I'm not going to want to use one of these. If I were loom knitting and I wanted to use this, I would need to double this up. So that's what I did for this. This is 2 strands of yarn that I'm using as 1 strand to create my scarf for this. And I will show you that here in the next video. I'll show you what I'm doing and how to knit that. So there we go. Those are that's my 201, I guess, on yarn, or my 101 on yarn. That is what I know, and I'm sticking to it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.